In today's Leeds news, defeat for under 21s, Leeds interest in Hayden Hackney, Harrison permanent exit seems unlikely, Leeds injury concerns for Crystal Palace away, and Ramazani sale and book value. Hey folks, welcome to the Leeds View for Tuesday the 10th of March with your Leeds United news. Jerry here, hope you're all having a really good week so far. One quick ask before we get stuck in today, and I promise I'm not selling anything to you. I had a lovely conversation with a young man called Hayden Hackney yesterday who's doing his thesis. He's a Leeds United fan and he's looking for some help around the topic that he's doing, which is documentaries connecting to football fan sentiment. So there's a link down below, it'll take you 5 minutes. He's a really nice lad and it would be nice for him to get some help from the Leeds United fan base to get some fan sentiment around this topic. So if you could click that link, it'll take you 5 minutes out of your day. That'll be it. And I promise I'm not going to try and sell you anything else today. That's the only thing we want to talk about. So if you could do that, lovely lad. Had a really good conversation with him yesterday as well. So check that out if you want to. Okay, let's move on and get stuck into today's news. And we'll start off with some academy results. Leeds United under-21s suffered a pretty heavy defeat on the road last night. Scott Gardner's side went down 5-2 away to Sunderland. It's not been a great week for Leeds when it comes to playing against Sunderland, but they did have some players back in a slightly stronger looking side. Rory Mahadi was back in goal for the under-21s. Ibrahimovic Fletcher made his full debut, first start for the under-21s, and Charlie Crew was back in the starting 11 as well. So slightly stronger side, but they were 3 goals behind and got back to 3-2 with goals from Alfie Creswell and Harvey Vincent before Sunderland pulled away again and finished 5-2, but they were chasing the game at that point and did really well to even get back in to the game at 3-2. Sam Alker came off the bench for Leeds as well and became the 10th Leeds United first year scholar to feature for Scott Gardner's under-21 side this year, which just goes to show how young that side is right now. They've got a bright future ahead of them. It's been a tough enough year with the players going out on loan. It has weakened the side just a little bit, but they've got a lot of potential there and they've got a lot of time to develop in that under-21 side over the next year or two. The under-18s, for their part, over the weekend, they went and beat Wolverhampton Wanderers 4-1 at home. 2 goals from Kenneth Mensah, a goal from Jack Morris and from Joe Baskaran as well, gave Leeds United the 4-1 win. So well done to under-18s, and unlucky to the under-21s. We'll see how they get on in the next match. Let's move on and talk about Leeds' interest in Hayden Hackney. Links to players are going to start heating up in the next couple of weeks. We're into the last 9 games of the season. The transfer window reopening for the summer isn't far away, and Leeds, as we know, have said repeatedly that they like to get their targets lined up at least 6 months in advance. We're keeping track of all the players that have been linked with Leeds United during this part of the year, the publications that are claiming these exclusives and these links to players, and we'll see at the end of the season if any of these end up being true. But Hayden Hackney is one that's popped up already over the last couple of weeks, and there's a story that's come out again today around him. According to Football League World, on top of Alan Nixon, they claim that Leeds United are the latest side to show interest in Middlesbrough central midfielder Hayden Hackney. Hackney is having another very, very strong season at Middlesbrough on the back of last year. He's played in every single one of their 36 games this season. He's scored 5 goals and he's added 6 assists as well. The report today says that Leeds United are among a ton of clubs that are said to be interested in the midfielder, alongside clubs like Manchester United. Hackney will likely, though, stay at Middlesbrough should they get promoted to the Premier League. They're currently second place in the Championship, but the gap that they had to third has narrowed over the past 4 or 5 weeks. There's only 4 points now between them and third. So if they get over the line, he's likely to stay there. If they don't and go into the playoffs and miss out, there will likely be plenty of clubs making a move for him. What's interesting from a Leeds perspective is the Leeds United recruitment model over the last couple of years has been players in the last year of their contract coming into their prime years. Seems to be the main 2 ones, outside of being 6 foot tall, ideally as well. At the end of the season, Hayden Hackney will be going into the final year of his contract. So it does tick a lot of boxes there. He's only 23 years of age, but he is the captain of Middlesbrough as well. So there is leadership qualities there from a very young player. So it's an interesting one to keep an eye on. But if there is any kind of real interest from the likes of clubs on the top end of the Premier League who will be playing European football next season, then Leeds will probably be blown out of the water when it comes to this. Unless we start to see a shift in these young players making decisions around their futures, if they decide to go to clubs where they will play games and develop, rather than going and joining these clubs at the top end of the Premier League and just ticking the box as homegrown talent and becoming cannon fodder over a couple of seasons. So we'll see what happens when it's an interesting one. He's a very good player, Hayden Hackney. I would have liked him last summer. There is lots of interest in him, so we'll keep an eye on it. It makes sense that Leeds, at the very least, they're looking at him. They will upgrade that midfield in the summer as well, but we'll have to keep an eye on him and see what happens. But let's move on for now. It all looked like it was going so well for Jack Harrison over his first few games of Fiorentina until it started to turn, and it turned pretty quick over the last 7 days. Last month, we heard that Jack Harrison was ideally pushing to try and stay in Florence at the end of this season. Outside of the option to buy, whatever happened, he wanted to try and stay there if he could. And it started really, really well for him. He scored a goal within his first 3 games for the club. He started plenty of matches, but his last game out against Parma hasn't gone down particularly well with the fan base or with the local journalists, and he's been criticised pretty heavy. Harrison has been on the receiving end of some pretty tough criticism from the Italian media, who are not known to be subtle in their digs at players when they decide to go in on them, and his performance against Parma has been scrutinised pretty heavily. According to Italian outlet Ferrezi Viola, they say Harrison's performance was labelled as error strewn, with misplaced crosses, poor decision, and limited attacking impact in the game. And the fan reaction as well wasn't particularly great for Harrison. He went off late in the game to a chorus of boos from the Fiorentina fan base, and he averaged just a 4.5 out of 10 from the local media in that game. The performance by the local media overall was described as disconnected from the team and failing to influence the game. One local outlet went as far as to say that he has not produced the performances that would make a decision around the permanent move to Fiorentina easy for the club to make. Fiorentina currently sit just one place above the relegation zone and 1 point as well. Manor Solomon's injury issues have come back to haunt him in recent weeks, and he's out injured right now. So they're struggling for form and they're struggling for player availability right now, and Jack's not giving them exactly what they're looking for at this moment in time. From a Leeds perspective, Leeds would have hoped that this loan would go well, and they would at the very minimum be able to get Jack Harrison's very high wages off their books come the summer, and maybe even get a few quid in from a PSR perspective as well. But that doesn't look right now like it's going to happen. But there is time. It could turn around. It could fix itself very quickly. They need to stay in Serie A. That's really, really important. And from a Leeds perspective, we need to stay in the Premier League, because if we go down, Jack Harrison's loan release clause kicks back in as well. So there's an issue there for Leeds long term as well. So fingers crossed it all sorts itself out. But yeah, it's not been brilliant for him. It did start well, but there are issues there that we've all seen with Jack Harrison before. The line of the misplaced crosses is the one that will be very close to home for us as well. So yeah, not going particularly well. We'll see how it goes. He has got a goal, no assists just yet, but he has been starting games. It'll be interesting to see, does he start their next game after the performance against Parma? But we'll see. Let's move on and talk about some injury concerns heading into Crystal Palace away. We've got 1 win on the road this season. It would be nice to try and get a couple of more before the season ends and try and take the pressure off having to get results at Ellen Road. And Daniel Farke will give everybody a detailed update on the health of the squad going into that game away at Crystal Palace, who will have only played on the Thursday night before we play them on Sunday. And there's a few potential issues or players to keep an eye on when it comes to the squad for that press conference with Daniel Farke. The standout one is Dominic Calvert-Lewin. He picked up a slight knee issue before the FA Cup match and was left out of the squad as a result of that. So we need to see if he's okay. He hasn't missed any games this season with any major issues, so this will be the first one. And fingers crossed it is only a minor thing, and Leeds decided because it was the FA Cup, no point in risking it. The other one is Joe Rodon, who was rested with a slight hamstring issue that he picked up against Sunderland. He had trained during the week, but Daniel Farke said leaving him out was just a precaution. Sebastian Bornell is the next one. He went off at half time in the FA Cup game. We now know that was due to illness. He played with a bit of a virus, but he's was struggling with energy, but it seems to be okay, and he should be back involved in the squad at the weekend. And then the other one is Noah Okafor, and it's going to be interesting to see with this one. The initial time frame around his injury was given as 2 to 4 weeks. Come Sunday, it'll be a month since he was out injured, and there's no update right now as to whether he has returned to the squad to train before the game against Crystal Palace. So it'd be nice to get Noah back at this point. He was very, very strong before he picked up that injury. And the only reason he played in that game in the FA Cup was because Dan James picked up an injury right before, and they were short in that area. So yeah, we'll see what happens. But Calvert-Lewin's the big one. We need to have him back fit and healthy, and that's always been the worry for everybody, that if he picked up an injury between now and the end of the season, we could have problems. Let's move on and talk about Larry Ramazani. Ramazani's recent form has started talk in Spain about a permanent move to Valencia. Now, before we even get into the detail of this, it should be pointed out that Valencia have already, over the past couple of weeks, pointed out that any move for Larry Ramazani from their side feels like it will be difficult to do, because they wanted an option to buy, they didn't get it. There's a reason why Leeds didn't put that option in there. Maybe Leeds thought a good loan strong campaign would give him a higher book value and Leeds could sell him for more money come the summer. But they do plan to try and make a move for him, which is a hell of a turnaround from January, where there was talk of his loan being cancelled. But they will try and negotiate the deal with Leeds and see how they get on. Manager Carlos Corberán has heaped praise on Largi Ramazani recently and has commented on his commitment to the side and being a major factor in their turnaround this season, and commented on how he has helped the side to move up the table and give them a bit more comfort in what has been an injury-plagued season for that Valencia squad. Leeds would likely be looking to try and recoup at least the £10 million that they spent on Largi Ramazani when they brought him in last year. At the end of this season, his book value, when it comes to PSR and SCR, has been labelled at in and around £5 million, which means, from Leeds' perspective, anything more than a £5 million offer for the player would give Leeds a profit when it comes to the PSR or SCR model that kicks in the summer. If his form continues, it's likely to bring more interested clubs in for him. He's had a good run in Spain. He was very good in Spain when Leeds bought him as well. So the more clubs that are involved in it, the higher the value will likely go, and it will give Leeds a really good chance to maximise their potential of selling the player on in the summer. Now, that's important because if you look at Harrison, you look at Max Ferber over the last couple of weeks, Leeds were hoping that these loans would result in permanent moves come the end of this season. Mateo Joseph as well, who's playing regularly enough for Real Mallorca, but not scoring a huge amount of goals, been played as a winger more often than not for them. So this could be the one that offers Leeds some form of cash coming into the summer, and the more money they can get, every single penny will count when it comes to Leeds United's transfer kitty going into the summer. Again, should Leeds stay in the Premier League, every single penny will be important to try and strengthen that squad heading into next season. Again, we know there's a rumoured £100 million transfer kitty already. Any additional sales will bolster that as well. And as we know, we're likely to see players go out. The loanees are the likely first ones that Leeds will try and get off the books, because they're not playing right now, not likely to play next season either. So we'll have to wait and see. Folks, that will be it for me today. The podcast will be out later on tonight. Myself, Paul and Jerry having a chat about the week's news around Leeds and what happened at the weekend, and looking ahead then onto the game against Crystal Palace and talking about the FA Cup draw, where Leeds will play West Ham in the quarterfinals away from home, because it's the FA Cup. Why wouldn't it be away from home? But there you go. Outside of that, have a great rest of your day. If you could check out the link down below for the survey for Hayden Hackney, that would be fantastic. It would be appreciated by me and by Hayden as well. And outside of that, have a great rest of your day. I'll talk to you soon. See you later. Bye.